I've been filming all day. I've been talking to myself too much. It's a problem. Hey guys, welcome to 2020. So I am here today to bring you the 2019 Best in Beauty according to me. I wanted to share some of my favorites and most used products throughout the year. Now, some of these did launch in 2019, but it's mostly going to be the stuff that I personally discovered, and that has really changed the game for me. I tried to keep it to my most used products and my absolute favorite products that I discovered throughout the year. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I'm basically just going to go through my favorites in each category. I picked 1 to 3 products in each category basically to share with you, and yeah, let's get started. Okay, so first I want to start out with skin and hair care, and the first product I want to talk about is the Briogeo Scalp Revival Dry Shampoo. Listen, this is expensive, and for someone that has used drugstore dry shampoo their entire life, this is a lot. I think it's I want to say it's $24. But it's so good. Listen, I've been trying to get away from aerosol cans because they're not as good for the environment. This is not, it's just got a little, so it's a little twisty. The proper way to do this, if you're having trouble with the packaging, shake it, then open it, and then you can get the dry shampoo out. So basically then you can just spray that on your roots and kind of zhuzh it in or brush it in, and it just leaves your hair feeling clean and not greasy at all, but it doesn't leave a super bad white cast. Sometimes you do get a little bit, but it's really easy to just kind of zhuzh out or brush out, and it just feels nice in the hair. It doesn't leave like a really weird residue like some dry shampoos do. It's hard to get too much product. Now I will say when you get to the very end of this product, it kind of, the little squeezer stops working, so you do have to kind of dump it out and then just use it as a powder. But I don't really mind doing that. I think it's a really beautiful product. It really cleans your hair, doesn't leave a gross residue, and yeah, I really like it. The next thing is the Kopari coconut deodorant. This has been my deodorant that I've repurchased again and again and again this year because it is one of the few deodorants that smells good, doesn't irritate the crap out of my underarms, and actually works pretty well. Now, I find it's not 100% foolproof. I do need to reapply sometimes throughout the day, but it works a lot better than any other natural deodorant I have tried, and it also doesn't irritate my underarms, which is a really big thing for me because almost every single deodorant, especially the deodorants that work, even some of the more natural deodorants, will give me like a rash underneath my arms. And this one does not, and it actually smells really good too. So yeah, that has been my favorite deodorant. Skincare. So skincare, there's a lot that I tried this year. Actually, this year I think was really when I delved into the skincare world. But I tried to narrow it down to a few things, and really these are more honorable mention than anything else because I've only been using them for the past couple months, so I don't know if I can truly say they're like a yearly favorite, but I wanted to mention a few things that really changed the game in terms of my skincare. And the first is the Murad multi-acid peel. So I've been using this for a few months now. This is a lactic acid and glycolic acid blend. It is a chemical exfoliant. And the reason why this changed the game for me is because all of the other chemical exfoliants I'd tried in the past just freaked out my skin. They were too harsh, and those were all pure glycolic. This blend on top of the holy basil that's in it really does something for my skin, man. It doesn't give me any irritation, but it does exfoliate on that deeper level, and it really helps improve the texture of my skin. So this is the only thing I use to exfoliate now, and I love it. Okay, so the next thing is facial oils. Now, this is the year when I delved into facial oils. This has really helped my dry skin stay hydrated. It helps with skin texture, it helps with makeup application. It's really helped for clients to improve skin texture before makeup application. It's been a huge game changer for me. There's lots that I've tried, and I honestly like most of them. The one I'm using right now is from The Ordinary, and I wanted to mention this one even though I haven't used this one for very long. It's only been a couple weeks or so. So far I really like it. It's just nice and hydrating. But these oils are hella cheap compared to a lot of the other higher end oils. Like I think this was like $6 or something, $6 or $7. And it's just pure argan oil. And that's the great thing about the Ordinary products, is they're just like, it's just a really basic oil. They have all sorts. They have argan, jojoba, they have a plant-based squalene, they have rose as well, so there's lots to choose from, and they're very cheap. So I think if you've never tried a facial oil before, that's where I would go. There are some good oils at the drugstore too, but a lot of times they actually have more ingredients in them and more fragrance, so it can be more irritating to the skin. So I was really happy to find these that's just like pure oil for your face, and they're great. Like I said, I haven't been using the specific one for very long, so take that into consideration. But if you haven't tried a facial oil before, I definitely recommend it, and it's really changed the game for me this year. All right, now we're gonna move into complexion. So as some of you know, I'm not really a primer type of bitch, okay? I just don't use it. One, because my skin is really dry and it doesn't really help makeup last longer on my skin, because I have like the opposite problem of a lot of people, where my foundation starts to get too matte throughout the day versus oily. And a lot of primers are geared more towards oilier skin to keep your makeup on longer. Second, I'm lazy. So whenever I'm in a hurry, it's always the first thing to go in my makeup routine. I find skin prep is a lot more important for me. However, I did try one primer this year that I have really, really enjoyed, and that is the Henriksen Banana Bright Primer. This is a fantastic primer. I'll tell you why. So it's a vitamin C base, so it helps to brighten the skin. So if your skin is feeling super dull, this does just give it that extra kind of boost. And then it also, I find, helps tone down my redness a little bit, which is really important to me. So it gives you almost a little bit of coverage. It's not really coverage, but it kind of feels like that before going in with your complexion products. So I really like it. And I do find, not with every foundation, but with certain foundations, this does help it last longer on the skin, especially the IT Cosmetics CC Cream and the Milk Makeup Flex Stick Foundation. I find this works really well with both of those. And it's fantastic. Okay, now on to foundation. So I have such a hard time with foundation, because I feel like I'll find one that I really, really like, and then all of a sudden it just will kind of like stop working for me. Like my skin has really weird texture, or like, I don't know, I'm just needing more coverage, or it's not wearing well on me anymore, and like, it just seems to come out of nowhere, and I don't understand. And I think it's probably just my skin changing, like with the weather and all of that. But the one complexion product that has stood by me throughout this whole year, and that has worked no matter what my skin looks like, is Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filt'r. I have the shade Fair one, and this is beautiful. I have one for myself. I have two in my kit. It's amazing. They describe it as a complexion enhancer, so you can use it a bunch of different ways. Some people just mix it in with the foundation. You can use it as like a glowy primer. You can use it just as a real subtle highlight on the tops of the cheekbones. I put this all over my face, which you see me do. I did like a full face of Charlotte Tilbury. I'll link it up there. But basically, I use this as like a tinted moisturizer, and it just gives you a little bit of coverage, evens out the skin tone, evens out the redness, and just gives you such a pretty glow. And it actually, like, the glow lasts for a little bit, not all day for me, but for me it doesn't emphasize my texture in a weird way. It's just it looks super smooth and glowy on the skin. It's not a lot of coverage, think of it like a tinted moisturizer, but I still really, really enjoy this, and I highly recommend it. And also, like, the cool thing about it is if you don't like it one way, like if you don't like it all over your face, you can still mix it in with your foundation, and I do that a lot with this too. You can mix it with a moisturizer, you can use it as like a nice little highlight, you can use it underneath makeup. It's just such a versatile and beautiful product, and it's not glittery or shimmery like at all. It just looks dewy and wet and just beautiful, and it's like, I think this is like my top product of the year, honestly. I'm so happy this came into my life, and I love it so much. So for actual foundations, there were actually a lot of really good launches in 2019, and I wanted to do two honorable mentions. One is the Anastasia liquid foundation. This was my fave for like a few months right after it came out. I really, really liked it. It's about a medium coverage, long wearing, beautiful natural finish foundation. And then I'm in the shade 130N, which is a really good shade match for me in case you're curious. But I found that there were days when my skin was really dry where this didn't look as good. It still looked good, but not as good. And also I found building this up like a lot to get it to full coverage, it did start to look more makeup-y. That's to be expected, but this was, I wanted to mention it because it was such a fave for a couple months, and I do want to get back into it and try it some more. And it's a good, just kind of nice, natural, long-wearing, easy, medium coverage foundation. Lately, when I've been wanting a more full coverage base, I have been reaching a lot for the Fenty Beauty Hydrating Foundation. This is a beautiful foundation that looks super nice on the skin. It's really nice in photos. It gives like a little semi-dewy finish. For me, it looks dewy for about an hour and then it starts to look like a soft matte, but it still looks nice on the skin. It doesn't emphasize texture in a weird way. However, I have had problems with wear time with this in the past. Sometimes it's fine and sometimes it looks like absolute shit at the end of the day, and I don't know, like primer, no primer doesn't seem to make a difference. It's just random. It breaks down around the nose really quickly, and it also, sometimes if I put too much on my upper lip, it'll start to get a little crusty. If I have like a 12-hour day, this is not the foundation that I would put on, but it is great for like just taking photos or going out for a few hours at nighttime. If I want to wear it all day, usually I'll mix it with something else that's a bit lighter coverage. So like these two mixed together with like mostly this and just a tiny dollop of this to add a little bit of coverage is a beautiful combination. But I really like the finish of this and the coverage it gives, so I think it is a good option if you want a nice hydrating full coverage foundation. But yeah, that's the only thing I would caution. So that is why this is like my favorite product of the year, even though I like the coverage of the other ones a little bit better, because they don't always look perfect on my skin, but they look good like 99% of the time. My most reach for concealer throughout the year has definitely been the Fenty Beauty Pro Filt'r Concealer in the shade 120. I really like this concealer. It's got great coverage. It's one of the few things that helps to really cover my under eye bags. How I like to apply this is I like to do a little dollop right here and here, let it sit for a little bit, then blend it out with a finger mostly, and then go in with a sponge. So obviously this is one that I do have to work with. It's a good spot concealer too though, which is nice, but nothing covers my under eyes like this, and it's not super matte either. I'd say it's like a natural finish. The only thing with this is sometimes I have at the end of the day looked at my under eyes and been like, crusty, great. But overall, it is a really nice concealer, and I think it has good coverage, and it has been working for me. I don't feel like I found the one with concealer, but that one has definitely been my most used this year. My actual favorite is YSL Touche Eclat. Now, there's two things I don't like about this. One, it's hella expensive, and two, it's not cruelty-free. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about picking this up. However, it is really, really beautiful. I have the shade 1, which is kind of a peachy pinky color, and I find that works really nice under the eyes because it almost gives a little bit of color correction, just a little niblet, a little dollop of color correction, and I really like it. So it works really well on like no makeup days or no makeup days to just give a little bit of coverage. I'll use it on its own. What I also like this for is if I'm wearing more full glam like today and I feel like my under eyes are starting to look a little bit dry or the coverage is fading, I can put a little of this on even if I'm wearing powder, and it just livens up that area so much. Such a great little touch-up product, which I really, really like. And I wore a lot of very minimal makeup this year too, so on minimal makeup days, I would just put a little of this under the eyes and like around the nose, dab, 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 call it a day. It doesn't look like you're wearing anything, but it just gives you a little bit of something underneath there to brighten up those under eyes and make you look more awake. So yeah, I really like this. Okay, so moving on to powders, there is only one, and that is the Hourglass Veil Translucent Powder. This is the only powder I care about. It's the only one I'll use in my skin, and that's pretty much it. No, for real though, it's the best powder I found for dry skin. It looks the least powdery, the least matte on the skin. It has a little bit of like sheen to it, which I don't really see on the face, but you can kind of see it like when you put it on your hand. I can't even see it in this lighting, but sometimes in certain lighting you can see it when you put it on your hand. But it just looks beautiful on the skin, super smooth. It sets down the makeup, but it doesn't look matte or powdery, which is great for dry skin. Now I find sometimes my skin is even too dry for this and I just can't use powder altogether. But when I do need some powder or looking for some powder, this is definitely the one I reach for. Okay, now onto bronzer. So there are 3 bronzer type products that I've used most consistently through the year. The first one has been the Fenty Beauty Matchstick in the shade Mocha. I really like this on just kind of like a less dense foundation brush, kind of something like this that has a little bit of give, but it still has some density to it. And what I like to do is just pick it up with my little brush, swirl it on, and you're good to go. It blends out super, super easy. I find this method works the best. I know some people critique that these are a little bit dry, and I think they can be when you're just drawing it straight on and trying to blend it out, especially over like a matte foundation. But if you put it on with a brush, it looks beautiful. I have the shade Mocha, which is very much a bronzer shade on me. It can be more of a contour on more medium skin tones, but it's a perfect bronzer shade for me. It gives me lots of warmth. It looks really seamless and natural in the skin, easy to blend out. Sometimes I'll also draw it on and blend it out with a beauty blender, and that works fine. But I find for bronzing, I really like this method, and that has been my go-to cream bronzer this year. The other bronzers I've used, good old butter bronzer. I've been using this for quite a while. This is, I'm getting maybe close to hitting pan. This is a good one, man. It's just such a nice neutral bronzer for fair skin. It doesn't look too warm or too orange, but at the same time, it's not super cool tone. So it looks really, really nice and natural on the skin and blends really, really easily. It's just, it's a fave, man. Now, when I do want something a little bit warmer, I have been reaching for the Fenty Stalk'r bronzer in Shady Biz. This is a really great, just simple matte bronzer. Mine looks disgusting inside. At first I thought it was a little too warm for me, but I think using a lighter hand with it really works. I have it on today, and I think it looks really nice. I don't think it looks too warm at all, and it's really, really great, solid, simple bronzer. But so yeah, those are the 2 I've been liking, or the 3 I've been liking for my bronzer. Okay, this was the year that I discovered my one true love in life, and that is cream blush. I love cream blush so much. I don't use powder blush anymore. I think I can probably count on one hand the amount of times that I used powder blush this entire year. I love cream blush. That's all. I just find that cream blush looks so much more natural. It just blends everything together so seamlessly. It can give you a nice dewy finish. It can kind of correct a too matte foundation and make it look dewier, and I just love them. So these are my top 3 of the year. So my absolute favorite through the whole year, you can probably guess, Milk Makeup Lip and Cheek Stick in the shade Rally. This is a phenomenal product. It looks so beautiful, so dewy on the skin. It's so easy to blend. You can do it with your fingers, your sponge, a brush, whatever, and it looks amazing. You can put it over powder, you can put it on its own. It doesn't matter. It's gonna look beautiful no matter what you do, and I absolutely love it. I don't love it on the lips, honestly, but as a blush, chef's kiss. Beautiful, amazing, spectacular, amazing, never been done before. I love it so much. And you also get a ton of product in here, like a ton of product, and yeah, I think it's actually a pretty good deal. Even though the sticker price is kind of high, you get so much product that I think it's worth it. Okay, so my second favorite blush of the year is actually more recent, and that is the Ilia multi-stick in the shade Ladybird. This is lovely. More recently, like in the fall winter time, I have been preferring this one just because it's a nice warm nude, and I think it works with kind of the darker, smokier looks. It's just like a nice warm color, and it looks like it's gonna be a bit much for my skin tone, but then it just blends into a dream, and it's such a pretty, pretty shade. I don't think it is as blendable or dewy as the Milk Makeup Lip and Cheek Stick, but I have been liking this color better. Now, I do think that Milk has a shade kind of similar, the shade Work, so you can maybe check that out as well. But I do kind of like that it's smaller, it makes it easier to travel with, which is nice, but you also don't get as much product, and I think it might even be a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind. But I do really like this one on the lips more. I think it's more hydrating, and I just like the color, and it doesn't, this one looks weird and dry on the lips, which is so strange because it's so dewy and hydrating on the face, but Anyways, I like this one better on the lips, especially with the gloss over. Beautiful. And that's just another cream blush that I have been loving this year and mostly like the past couple months. Another fave, which I used a lot in the summer, was the Flower Beauty Blush Balm. Now this is more of a liquid blush. This is a lot more intense than the other two. The other two are very, very subtle. This one packs a punch, okay? You only need a tiny bit, but it is a really, really beautiful shade, but you can see it's a lot more pigmented and intense than the other ones. Because of that, I think these work on more skin tones, and if you're going for a really, really blushy, like sunburn look, this is beautiful. And this is in the shade Melon, by the way. But yeah, this is another really great option and obviously a much cheaper option as well. Now this one I don't think looks as dewy as the other two on the skin. It's more of a like just natural satin finish, but I do really like it, and especially when I want to look like I'm wearing a lot of blush, that is the one I go to. So between these three, I would say if you want something super dewy and like the most blendable and effortless, I would say go for the Milk Makeup Lip and Cheek Stick. If you want something super subtle, it's maybe a little bit more compact but still gives you a decent amount of product, I would go with the Ilia one. This one I find actually it works really well with the fingers on like a light base or like no makeup. Or with any three of these actually, for a more full coverage base, I like to take it like on my hand or on my wrist and pick it up with a sponge and then goes in, and then go in. That works really, really well. And I think especially for the Flower Balm, that is the best method as well. And if you want something that's really gonna pack a punch and give you a lot of pigment and that is a little bit longer lasting than the other two, then I would go for the Flower Beauty Blush Balm. But yeah, those are my favorite cream blushes of the year. I love cream blush so much. Now for highlight, I've been trying to find a good liquid or cream highlight, and I just haven't found one that really like packs that punch that I want, because a lot of times I'll just use this and it gives you that very natural effect, but sometimes I want something punchier and I just haven't found a cream or liquid highlight that really gives that to me. I might buy one of the Hourglass Vanish sticks, but they're pricey, okay? So in the meantime, I have been using the Pixi Glowy Powder in London Lustre. This is a collab with Aspie Novard. I don't even know if they make this anymore, but this has been my fave. It's been broken quite a few times and I've had to repress it, so that's why it looks awful, but I love this. It's such a pretty, I'm wearing it right now. It's a pretty intense highlight, but if you really buff it and work it into the skin, it can look really beautiful and natural as well. So usually what I'll do is I'll do that and then I'll do a cream blush over it, and then it just gives like this beautiful, dewy, glowy, seamless finish. Now I will say when my skin is particularly textured, sometimes this method goes to my detriment and it starts to look a little bit weird. But overall it works pretty well, and I think definitely doing your blush after your highlight really helps. And I love the shade of this one too. I like a little bit of a warmer, more gold tone highlight, but obviously a lot of them are too dark for my skin tone. This is a nice light gold color, and I really, really enjoy this, and that's pretty much what I've been using all year. Okay, let's talk about eyebrows. So this year I really embraced the fluffy brow thing. I will have a brow tutorial coming to you soon, but I want to talk about my fave brow products of the year. So the two that really changed the game for me this year were the Milk Makeup Kush Lash Primer and the Urban Decay Brow Blade. This is a game changer, okay? So on one side you do get a little like typical pencil, and I did use this for a little bit when I was doing more defined brows, and it's a nice pencil, it's whatever, okay? But the star is this little pen. You can get the finest little hair strokes ever, and it's the only way that I can do a super fluffy brow. Like, this has really made that possible for me, and I very much appreciate that. I wish they just sold the pen, because I would buy 1,200 of them. Not really, don't have that much money, but I would buy multiples of this. I have bought multiples of this. There's nothing else like it that I've been able to find, and I love it. Catrice does have something similar. However, that one does not last as long, and I live in Seattle and it's rainy, so when I wear that one, my eyebrows come off. So this one is actually waterproof, stays put all day, and I absolutely Love it, and I wish they would sell it on its own. Please do that. Okay, continuing on. So the other thing, as I mentioned, is the Kush lash primer. So Jake Hissa is the one that mentioned using a lash primer in her brows, and I was like, genius. So I started doing that. I started with the Marc Jacobs lash primer because that's when I like that for my eyelashes, and I liked that. It definitely made it more full. But there's something about this that works in the brows really, really well. It's a little bit, it's not as fluffy, I guess, but it has some hold to it, and it's got this little brush, and you just wiggle it in, and then like comb it through, and then you do all the rest of your brow stuff, and it just adds this fullness and texture to the brows that you can't get otherwise, and it also gives it a little bit of hold and gets them to kind of stand up. So yeah, I really, really have been enjoying this. I do like it as a lash primer too. I don't think it's the greatest lash primer in the world, but it does work. You could use it for both if you wanted to. Then I have an honorable mention. It's only an honorable mention because I've loved this for years and years and years, and not just this year, and that is the e.l.f. Clear Brow Gel. My baby, my precious angel, never given you up. Love this so much. It's like $2. You can get it at Target or wherever they sell e.l.f. I usually buy multiples when I go to restock this because it's fantastic. Nothing holds my brows in place like this bad boy. Like, it's incredible, it's cheap. I would buy this if it was $25. Like, I love it so much. It's my last step in my brows, and it's what keeps them up and looking fluffy and full and beautiful. I love it so, so much. It is a duo, so it has like a mascara and a eyebrow on one end, but I use both on my eyebrows, so it doesn't matter. The brush is just slightly different. One's like a mascara wand, the other is a little bit more squared, but it's the same shit. And it's my favorite thing in the world. Okay, and then I just wanted to, tinted brow gels, the more of them I use, the more I realize they're very similar. But two of my personal favorite have been the Milk Makeup Kush Brow. I used a whole thing of, I don't know, whatever the taupe shade is when I was blonde, and now I'm working through Herb. I really like this. It adds a lot of fullness to the brows. I like the little brush, and I think it works really well. Very similar to Gimme Brow, so if you're looking for like a clean and cruelty-free or vegan option to Gimme Brow, this is fantastic, and it works really, really well. They're very similar products, and I even think I like this one a bit better. I think it has a bit better hold and a little bit more fullness than Gimme Brow, but it's very similar. I haven't tried Glossier Boy Brow, but I think it's pretty similar to that as well. But yeah, it's just a good basic tinted brow gel. Now, the Anastasia Dip Brow Gel. This one is a little bit different. It's very intense. It's got a bigger wand, and it dispenses a little bit more pigment. It's less zhuzhy than the other ones. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, there's something different about it, and it really coats the hair well. So if you really want to get your hairs coated, this one works really well. I was using this pretty consistently when I was blonde, and I love it. You just have to be very careful about the amount of product that you use, because if you put too much on, it's a nightmare. So you have to be very light-handed with it, but it does coat the brow hairs really, really well and give them a nice color, lasts really well throughout the day. So that's another one that's just a little bit different, but I really like that as well. But I would say the two standout brow products from the year for me, these two right here, baby. All right, let's talk about eyeshadow. First of all, eyeshadow primer. This is all I use, Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. Hangs onto shadow really, really well, gives a nice base. I like that this has a tint because it just cancels out any veinage. I wish they would add more shades to this. One that works fairly well on these medium to tan skin tones is the NARS eyeshadow primer in medium. That works decently well. This works really well for me. I find that it's a really thin consistency, which I like, so it really hangs on to the shadows, and that's the biggest thing with the Urban Decay primers, is I think that there's like two types of primers, right? There's ones that sort of create a kind of thicker base to make things more blendable. So that would be like MAC Paint Pots, Anastasia primer, that one's like that too. It's kind of a little bit of a thicker consistency, not super thick, but it just adds like a nice creamy base. And then there's ones like the Urban Decay primers, which I think really, really hang on to shadow, and that's what makes the difference for me. This really, really helps to prevent creasing, moving around, all of that jazz. So yeah, this is my fave. and it will probably always be my fave. I have been using the original one for a long time, but I wanted to mention because the Eden one is new for me, and I like having that little bit of a tint in there. All right, eyeshadow palettes. So here's the thing with eyeshadow palettes. I bounce around so much with eyeshadow palettes. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling, changes month to month, so it's hard for me to pick like a yearly favorite. So I wanted instead to focus on palettes that have released this year that I think have really stood out from the rest. Anastasia released a shitload of palettes this year, but I think the two that stood out for me were the Riviera palette and the Jackie Aina palette. The Riviera palette is such an underrated palette. Nobody talks about this, but it's so good. This was, I think, in a summer favorites video. I love this palette. I love the variety. I think the metallics in here are stunning. The mattes are nice and blendy and pigmented. This is like what I would call an approachable, colorful palette because you do get some good neutrals, kind of like these shades here. You get a white, you get kind of a deeper brown to deepen up, but then you get all these fun, colorful shades to play around with, and I found that I can actually get nice neutral looks out of this, but then I also have the colors in there. So I find it a really nice palette to travel with because it has basically everything I need, no matter what vibe I'm feeling. Now the only thing is I wish this had a black in it. Blacks are so useful to just deepen up looks, or like if you're going for a more cool tone look. And especially I think to go with like these more silver blue shades, I think a black would have been really beneficial to this palette. I probably could have done without like the Estate color because it's just like a pastel peach. But overall, I think this is a beautiful palette and I think it was very underrated and I really, really like it. And I especially enjoyed it like in the summer, traveled with it a lot. So yeah, I really like that one. Next, Jackie Aina palette. Ooh, mama, this is beautiful. This is a gorgeous palette. The shades in here are so unique and beautiful, and there's like Zam. Okay, it's a bronzy gold, but the little glitter and reflect in here is absolutely stunning, like so different than anything I've ever seen before. And same with like Sponsors, such a pretty duochrome, Trust Issues, Wigglies, Dollas. They're all stunning shades and really unique, and these are so rich and pigmented, and yet they still blend like a dream. I love this palette so much, and I love that Jackie created a palette that works well on deep skin tones, because I find even, you know, Soft Glam, Modern Renaissance, those are great palettes and the shadow quality is good, but if you're darker skinned, you really can't use half of the palette. And this one is really geared towards people with deep to darker skin. However, if you're fair skinned, you could obviously still use and love this palette. It might be a little bit more of a richer or bolder palette for you rather than a neutrals palette, but it's gorgeous either way, and I think this is such a good addition to the eyeshadow palette world. I don't feel like there's anything quite like this on the market, and I think that's what really makes the difference, is this didn't feel like another palette that was just like, oh, here you go, here's another palette, take it, just take it. This really felt like something that a lot of thought and care went into, and it's really different than I think anything on the market. And we don't have, I would say it's more of a jewel tone palette, I guess, but we don't really have much like this on the market. I think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous palette. So yeah, that was one of my faves too. I would say this was like my spring summer fave, and then this was more kind of fall winter fave, but I love them both so much. Ironically, I have none of my faves from this year on my eyes today. I used the BH Cosmetics Zodiac palette, which is still such a great palette, man. The original one, that was great, but we're focusing on this year releases and kind of most used. Another one of my most used palettes was the Naked Reloaded palette. This is a nice palette, man. It is what I would imagine the Naked palette redone would be. I think it was done very well. I really, really enjoy how like slim this packaging is, especially compared to the other Naked palettes, and I like the cushion. I don't know, I kind of like it. And I like that it folds in really easy, and it's just nice and slim. It's very easy to hold with one hand, which I appreciate. So I actually use this a lot on clients because it's really easy for me to hold and and there's some shades in here that I really, really enjoy. I really like this shade here. This is probably my most used shade, the shade Bribe. It's such a beautiful satin shade, and it just makes everything look so gorgeous and smooth. So usually I'll use this to kind of, I'll highlight the brow bone and kind of set the primer on the lids before going in, and I'll also use it to kind of clean up edges and stuff, and it's stunning, stunning. Now, that being said, I do realize that not everyone can use this shade or a lot of the shades in this palette, so that's something to keep in mind too. But if you're around my skin tone, or I would say up to like a medium skin tone, you can probably still get a lot of use out of this palette. I do like that there are the bigger shades here, and I get that they're all kind of boring shades, but think about the clientele that this is made for. I think this is definitely made for the everyday makeup wearer, not necessarily like makeup collectors or artists, and that's why I think a lot of people were bored with this palette. But it's a great neutrals palette, it really is. It's very nice. You can get nice bronze smoky eye, you can get a really pretty classic eye. There is like this little pop of color in there. These two shades here are kind of a lackluster, especially Dreamweaver. You would expect it to be a nice intense purple, but it's really not. It's just like a brown. Like, it really is not. It's kind of disappointing, but the rest of the shades in the palette are really nice. The shimmers are not super intense. They're just nice, soft shimmers, with the exception of Angel Fire. This one has a bit more intensity to it. Still not super metallic, but that one's a nice pop on the inner corner or laid over other shadows. But yeah, I did reach for this a lot when I just wanted to do a nice, simple, classic neutral look, and I think it worked really, really well. So yeah, that was another most used palette from the year. Last palette that launched this year, which I really, really enjoy, is the Huda Beauty Neon Obsessions palette. I have the orange one. I think these are fantastic little palettes. Again, I don't think there's a whole lot like this on the market. It's really hard to find good neon high quality shadows, and I think these are great. The yellow is a little bit patchy, but that's every yellow, but I think you can still make it work. These shades are really pretty and again, very unique. This is such a pretty summer palette. The oranges in here are so pigmented and nice. The shimmers have this beautiful little reflect to them. The Huda shimmers, there's something about them where they just have this little, like, they catch the light so beautifully. They're not a super intense metallic like the Anastasia ones, but they just have this sparkle that's beautiful. Anyway, so I think this is a really, really fun palette, and it's great if you're somebody that doesn't necessarily wear a lot of color, but you want something small to kind of pop in here and there. I think this is a great companion palette. So a lot of times I traveled with, when I wasn't traveling with Riviera, I would travel with these two, so I got my neutrals and then some colorful options as well, and I think that those are really great. And yeah, those were my probably top 4 palettes from the year. So I do have one eyeliner to talk about, and that is the Milk Longwear Gel Eyeliner. This is a phenomenal eyeliner. It's just retractable, and I'm really sad because mine broke off and now I'm having to use a different one, but it's fantastic. It glides on so creamy and nice. You can smudge it out, but it stays put, man. It does not leave, and I have a hard time getting stuff to stick on my waterline. This is one of the few that really sticks on, hangs on there. And then it does have a little smudgy on the end, and then it actually has a little sharpener too. I don't think this works very well. I've never used it, but it's there if you want it. Yeah, I just have the black shade in Boss. They do have a couple more. They have like a dark brown, they have a navy, and then some like weird glittery shades as well. So yeah, it's a phenomenal eyeliner if you're looking for just a new basic pencil eyeliner. Okay, let's talk about mascaras. So I have a couple that have come into my life this year. The first has been the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. This is old. I just need to clean it and donate the wand. It's completely rubbed off. I really enjoyed this mascara. When I first tried it, I was like, meh. Oh, did I try this? I think I might have tried this in 2018. I think I did try it in 2018. Oh well, it's fine. We're still gonna talk about it. I used it most in 2019, okay? But it just gives your lashes a very beautiful, fluffy, full, voluminous, but still natural looking lash, and I really, really liked that day to day. I found I didn't really like it when I first got it because it was so wet, and it's one of those ones where you have to let it kind of dry out before it's good, you know, like you have to wait a week and then it's really good. It's one of those, but once you do, it's beautiful. If you like a full lash but not like clumpy, this is a beautiful mascara because it still gives you that fullness without kind of clumping together, and it just looks nice and fluffy and beautiful and feathery, and yeah, it's really nice mascara. It does transfer, I will say that, but it's pretty. The other one that has come into my life, well, it's kind of a duo. The Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir Lash Primer and Mascara. stunning. Beautiful, absolutely amazing. This combo, nothing makes my lashes look like this. Like, it makes my lashes look so full and thick and just like beautiful. So this is the combo I use whenever I'm wearing like eyeshadow, but I don't want to put on lashes. This one together, beautiful. There was a big stretch in 2019 where I didn't wear lashes at all, and this was all I was wearing on my lashes. It's fantastic. It's the closest thing I think that you can get to fake lashes in a mascara. Now, I think the combination is important. The Marc Jacobs mascara, it's very nice on its own. It's a nice voluminous mascara. It does make your lashes look nice, full and thick, but it doesn't give you that same like almost false lash appearance that the combination does. I think the primer adds a lot, and these two together too. I've used the primer with other mascaras and I think it looks nice, like it looks nice with the Kush mascara, but there's something about these two together, man. They're made for each other. Literally. But yeah, and I know it's an expensive combination, man, but I don't know, I think it's kind of worth it. And the other thing too is the mascara on its own smudges like crazy. Crazy. But with the primer, no smudging at all. So keep that in mind. I love these two. So the most recent that has come into my life is the Tom Ford Badass Mascara. Whoo boy, this is a pricey one. This is, I think, like something like $55 or something absolutely ridiculous for this mascara. You don't need it. However, it is beautiful. This one is different kind of wand. It's more spiky, and I do find that helps to really separate the lashes, but this still gives a lot of volume, and it's really, really good at holding a curl. So this kind of became my everyday mascara because I could just pop it on without even curling my lashes, and it would give my lashes a little bit of a lift. They would look full and volumized and long, but not too over the top. And then I would use this combo for when I was wearing like eyeshadow or something more dramatic. Really like this mascara, man. But it has, I will say, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster. When I first tried it, phenomenal, absolutely amazing. Did not transfer at all. Went on so smooth. As it got older, it started transferring on me, and I don't know if my skin changed or what. I don't know. It still wasn't bad, but I would get a little bit and then I would just wipe it away, and then it usually wouldn't transfer again. It was bizarre. And I also found I like this less and less the more it dries out, which is kind of the opposite for some other mascaras, like the Kush mascara. I felt like this also dried out really, really fast, which is disappointing for a super expensive mascara. This lasted a couple months or so, which is, you know, that's when you should replace mascara anyway. But for example, I've been using these for probably like 6 months. 3, yeah, no, at least 4. But anyway, they're still going strong. I should probably replace them. That's not hygienic, but it's fine. This one I've only been using for like a couple months, and I feel like it's already kind of dried out and losing its performance a little bit. So just keep that in mind. But if, you know, if you are gifted this or it comes into your possession somehow, it is beautiful, but it's expensive, so keep that in mind. And yeah, that's it for mascaras. Now, lips. So these are all nude glosses. The first one, Anastasia lip gloss in Toffee. Beautiful, stunning. This was like my go-to lip gloss for months and months and months and months. It's still one of my go-to lip glosses. I'm gonna put some on right now. It's just such a pretty nude. It's like a little bit of a deeper nude on me, but I like it. Gosh, it's such a pretty color. I love this color. It's such a pretty warm, but still neutral. Like it's, I guess, pretty neutral nude, but it's a little bit deeper for me, and I really, really like that because it gives some color to the lips. It looks like I put in some effort, but it's not overpowering. It's still nice and neutral and kind of nude. And it's absolutely beautiful, and I love it very much. The Anastasia glosses are very opaque, and they last a lot longer than I think a lot of other glosses. You can feel them a little bit more, but they're not like gucky at all. They're really beautiful, and they stay nice on the lips. And these also kind of leave behind a little bit of a stain, so it almost kind of fades to look like you're wearing like a cream lipstick. And yeah, that's been definitely a fave this year. Okay, the one not glossy product I have in here is a lip liner, and is the Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat in Pillow Talk. Oh, I really like this. This is a beautiful formula. I like a lip liner that's a little bit stiffer. Not stiff to the point where it feels like you're dragging like on the lips, but stiff enough to where I feel like it's really gonna hold on to my lipstick, and then it's not slipping and sliding everywhere, because then at that point I'm like, why am I using a lip liner, you know? So I really like the formula, it's nice, and Pillow Talk is such a pretty Your Lips But Better shade for me. It's fantastic. It's almost the exact color of my lips, so it's just nice to kind of even out my lip shape, give like a tiny hint of color, and then throw a gloss on top. Beautiful, fantastic, wonderful, love it so much. So then what I've been wearing over that, Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb in Diamond Milk. These are stunning. I actually wish I'd gotten a different shade. I think I would like Fussy or maybe Fenty Glow better, because this one on its own can look a little bit milky, which Diamond Milk makes sense, but I really, really like it paired with this, because this just gives enough color underneath, and these two together, such a pretty combo. And the Fenty Gloss Bomb formula is stunning. It looks so beautiful and glossy on the lips, and it just catches the light so nice. And they also feel like hydrating and nourishing. They don't dry out your lips at all. And I like the bigger doe foot applicator. These are just so pretty. Again, I wouldn't necessarily get the shade Diamond Milk unless it really calls to you, but it's a beautiful formula. They're all nice and sheer, so I think really you could go with any one of them. But yeah, that's been another fave gloss of the year. Last lip product, Milk Makeup Kush Glaze. I can't even read it anymore. This is so disgusting. I've taken this everywhere with me. It's gross, because I've loved it so much. I took it camping. Yeah, it's a lot. This is such a nice, like, lip balm product. It looks nice and glossy, but it still gives your lips a lot of hydration, and I love that. So I would just use this most of the time, especially in the summer. I would just pop this on, call it a day, be out the door, be on my merry way, and it'd be great. Carry this around with me everywhere. It's fantastic. It has like a little squeezy top. So the one thing that has recently become an issue is this started to come unsealed. When I squeeze it, it's almost empty too. It comes out here. So when that happens, I have to like just take my finger and do it, which is fine. But anyways, if you care for yours a little bit more, it probably won't break on you, but it's a beautiful formula. It's lasted me quite a while too, and I still have a decent amount of product left. And yeah, I think it's a really great formula. Okay, I have one last thing. I was reluctant to mention this because it's a fairly recent find, but Lilaby Afterglow Mist. Stunning. This is such a pretty, dewy mist, and it actually makes a difference. It makes your skin look so much dewier. Now, I know there are drugstore versions that will do that too, but this one also smells good. It smells like lavender ice cream to me. It's the most soothing, lovely scent, and it's not irritating either. It's just so calming and nice. I love it. So this is a beautiful, it just feels nice to put this on. I will say I flew through this. I went through this in like 2 weeks probably. Now I'm a little aggressive with my setting spray, so that may be why, but just keep that in mind. But oh my god, it's so stunning and beautiful. They do have a smaller version, a little mini, but it's teeny tiny. So I think it's probably a better deal to get the bigger one, but if you're able to try it, it's fantastic, beautiful. Again, I think you can get the same effect with drugstore products. You don't need to spend the money, but if you're looking to kind of treat yourself a little bit, it's such a beautiful, lovely, delightful product. Okay, y'all, that is everything. Those are my most used and favorite products for 2019. I've been filming all day. I've been talking to myself too much. It's a problem. Anyways, that is where I'm going to leave you. I hope you all had a good year, and I hope you have an even better 2020. Let me know what your New Year's resolutions or goals are for 2020 in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. It's been a great year. I really appreciate you all who have come to my channel in the past year, and that's everything. Thank you so much for all your support and for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like this video if you like this video, and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all again soon. Okay, bye. Just wasted product for you. This is all for you. Does help it last. Excuse me? Most reach for concealer. My most reach for concealer throughout the something stabbing me in the eye. Then I have some honorable mentions. Okay. Oh god, nose itchy. What is this? Okay, where was I? Got interrupted.